Look how good and pleasant it is for us all to be together. This is a week that all of us need the comfort of community. All of us this week need Shabbat. All of us need the reassuring knowledge of each other's nearness and each other's presence. This is a week that Shabbat matters more than ever. This is a week that congregations and communities and friendships mean more than ever. So we are very, very happy to see this room filled with friends and worshipers who are here together to welcome Shabbat in the midst of community with words of prayer and sounds of song and celebration. Let's all take just one moment to make sure that we know the people seated around us so that we can welcome Shabbat as friends. On page 20 now, we turn in our prayer books to the words of Lecha Dodi, the words with which we welcome the Shabbat, just as we've welcomed each other. Would you please join us in song, page 20.
Shabbat
be seated. According to tradition, there was once a Hasidic rabbi who was asked about the tradition of having the congregation turn around to face the door of the synagogue during that last verse of Lecha Dodi. Traditionally, that gesture of turning toward the door is meant to signify our openness to welcome Shabbat, to be ready to welcome the day of rest. But this rabbi gave a different answer. He taught his students that at that point in the service, when we all turn around to face the back of the room at the beginning of our service, it's a chance for us to look back in the dark corners of our spaces that are holy, to look for those faces that might otherwise be forgotten, to look at the people who seek shelter in the corners, who are standing in the darkness, who might otherwise be overlooked, and not to let our prayer service continue until we've seen them and recognized them and remembered our obligation to them. This Shabbat, that teaching seems especially poignant and relevant. This week, Shabbat is meant to be for us a reminder of our obligations to each other, to our community, and to our world. And so it happens that in a bit of a fortunate coincidence, this Shabbat in the month of Elul, this Shabbat in the month leading up to the High Holy Days, there is another tradition, that Shabbat prayers begin with the sounding of the shofar, whose sound is meant to function as a kind of spiritual alarm clock, to get us to shake off our complacency, to get us to shake off the urge to ignore and turn away, and instead to rise up to a new kind of spiritual alertness, to pay attention to what must be paid attention to remember those who must be remembered, and to commit ourselves again to the obligation that are ours as Jews and as moral citizens.
Tekiah.
Our service continues with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. It's a pleasure for me to invite up this week's Benot Mitzvah, Scout Brooks and Megan Carson, and their parents, Monica and Daniel, and Melissa and Charles, to lead us in the lighting of the Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai. Parents. As Shabbat begins, so does the bat mitzvah ceremony of our daughter. The sun sets not only on the week, but also on her childhood. We are here in the presence of our congregation, our family, and our friends, to stand with her as she steps forward into adult Jewish life and accepts her share of responsibility for the survival of Judaism.
Tonight she begins a new stage in her life and ours by fulfilling an ancient Jewish tradition. It is a stage each Jew must enter if Judaism is to thrive. We rejoice with her as we repeat the words by which we thank God for the miracle of her life, for sustaining us, and for allowing us to witness this wonderful occasion in her life. Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'eheyanu v'hegiyanu v'hegiyanu lazman hazeh.
We are delighted to fulfill the family's mitzvah of standing with her daughter. Each generation stands beside the next, and she steps forward into the adult responsibility. Like families for countless generations, we are filled with utter pride.
The candles flickering before us signify the beginning of our sacred day of rest. As we bless her, we not only welcome Shabbat, we also pray that God will bless our daughter as she steps forward to fulfill the mitzvah of accepting Torah. May the light of these tapers shine on her always. Yes. Doesn't matter which one's first.
Asher Kishanu Mitzvah B'Tivanu La'alik Ner Shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Please turn to page 6.
Please read responsively. May the door of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Please turn to page 146 and rise for the Baruch, page 146. Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv arvim, b'chokma poteach sharim, ubitbuna mishana 18, uhazmalif et hazmanim, sadir et hakochavim, b'mirotehem, berakia kirzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei, hoshek, b'hoshek, mipnei or ume avir, Yom Ume Vi Lila, Ume Vdil Bain Yom Ubain Lila, Adonai Tsebaot Shamo Elhai, Bakayam Tamid Yimlach Elenu Le'elam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Ha Mariv Arabim. We continue responsively on the next page. In each age, we receive a transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world.
At each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with truth.
In each age we add our wisdom to which has gone before. At each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Israel.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod בחרתם בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue responsively on page 151. We worship the power that unifies the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp, as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
We grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and event, and so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom. The Michamocha prayer was our people's celebration song for having safely passed through the waters when God separated the sea. On this Shabbat, we sing these words with a very different perspective. Having emerged safe from the waters of destruction that submerged our beautiful city and homes, we are brokenhearted, yes, and suffering many. But yet we also sing these words as our ancestors did. Who is like you, Adonai? You, God, the source from which our blessings flow in times of greatness and also in times of struggle. We sing together, Mi Chamocha.
page 153. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evenings of your youth. Truth. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Over all we love, over Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, ha-porez, Sukkot, Shalom, Aleinu, Va'al kol amo Israel, Va'al Yerushalayim.
So I'm going to ask you to turn to pages 42 and 43 along the same idea of what Megan just read for us so beautifully. This same prayer is found here with slightly different words. And we're going to be singing a little on the left side on the top of the page and a little on the right side. And these words, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. And I just think singing all together this evening on Shabbat is such a powerful thing. And I don't think there are words to describe it. So I want to teach you, if you don't know it, if you do know it, sing along. And if you don't know it, sing along. So it goes like this. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let's try that much. Let there be love and understanding among us. Listen. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. So try that with me. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Now we're going to put that whole thing together from let there be love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. One more time. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. So we're going to teach you one other part. We're going to try and sing them all together. So the second part goes like this. This is on the right side in the Hebrew. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Let's try that. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Listen. Hashkivenu Leshalom. Try it. Hashkivenu Leshalom. Let's try our whole Hashkivenu part. Here we go. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu Leshalom. One more time. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu Leshalom. So now we're going to put them together. So over here we're going to sing Let There Be Love with me and Rabbi Silk, and over here with Barbara and Mike we're going to sing Hashkivenu. So we'll start with Let There Be Love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Our service continues on pages 155 and 156. Please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agitehi latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chaste Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol atah Rav Ve'Hoshia, Morid atah, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Bichamocha Ba'al Geburot, Umido Melech, Melech Memit, Umekayem, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah le'achayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yahalelu b'selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Please be seated. We continue together in the middle of page 160. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Be gracious, Adonai our God, to your people Israel, and receive our prayers with love. Oh, may our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge that you are near to all who seek you in truth. Let our eyes behold your presence in our midst and in the midst of our people in Zion. Blessed is Adonai, whose presence renews Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato l'tzion. Modim anachnu lach, sha'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzor chayenu magen yishenu, atah hu l'dor v'dor. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being.
For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ucha na'eh lehodot.
We continue in silent prayer.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon vechol hashalom. Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Letov beinecha levarek et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
Page 253. This has been a week that has seen so much suffering and so much rupture, so much pain in the faces and in the lives of the people we know and care about. And so this week's Mishaberach, this prayer for healing, comes with, it seems, a new weight and a new necessity. And so as we prepare to pray, we think about those we love, those we know, and those we don't, whose lives are incomplete and marked by pain and difficulty this week as we ask for healing and restoration on their behalf. In our congregational family this week, we offer this prayer for Daryl Artis, Bradley Borden, Lewis Brody, Melba Berman, Mike Cunningham, Susan Garber, Suzanne Garcia, Judy Gorwitz, Andrea Shapiro Gottlieb, Deepa Kamath, Beverly Kovnat, Ronnie Light, John Lords, Ruth May, David Northway, Lloyd Parkins, Gerardo Perez, Liba Reisman, Charles Romano, Royce Ann Sline, Stephanie Spatz, William Tanner, Roger Williams, Lynn Zimmerman, Chana Bat Chana Balebish, Leah Sara, Asher ben Shifra, Amram Baruch ben Reuven Besimcha Tova, Ephraim ben Shena Rivka. And we pause as well and think of all those impacted by the flooding and the damage from this storm. As we draw all of them close to us, we join together in song and prayer, page 253. We're fortunate enough this week to have a number of very bright spots in an otherwise dark week, a number of opportunities for blessing and gratitude and thanksgiving, for milestone moments in the lives of our congregants. So this is our chance to give our thanks to God and to recognize how fortunate we are to be able to celebrate these great milestones with these members of our community. And it's my hope that everyone who is on our blessing list this week was able to make it here today despite the difficulties of travel and recovery. Is Natalie Littman with us this evening? No. Rain check for Natalie. Is Gloria Ribnick with us this evening? Gloria Ribnick. What birthday are you celebrating? Number 90. That is exactly what we needed. Everyone. 90 is the new 65. That's comforting. All right, good. Then I'm feeling great. So, Gloria, all of us who know you couldn't have picked a better person to help bring in this moment of sunshine amid all of these clouds. You are a ray of light every time we encounter you. We're so glad that you're here to lift up our congregation at every available turn and our whole community with the work that you do as a volunteer, the work that you do putting in sweat and toil and tears to help the lives of those that are made difficult by their circumstances to be just a bit easier with your love, your commitment, and your generosity. And so as you celebrate your 90th birthday, we give our thanks to God for the gift of your life and the promise of many more years ahead. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, for giving us life and sustaining us and bringing us to this joyous time. Amen. Mazel tov. Happy birthday, Gloria. Lila, are you here? Lila Rauch. There she is. Lila, sorry to show you up, Gloria. Lila, will you share with us what number we're celebrating? Say it again. Did you say 92? 92. What a blessing it is to celebrate with you this wonderful day. This may not have been the birthday that you expected or planned for, but it's a birthday that you've got a sanctuary full of your closest friends happy to celebrate with you. We are so grateful for you and for your life, for the light that you shine, and for the goodness that you bring to your family, to your community, and this congregation. You are a source of joy and hope. Each time I talk to you, I come away smiling. I know that's the case for anyone who has a chance to encounter you in conversation. We're so pleased to celebrate this birthday with you. We give our thanks to God for your life, and we offer our prayers for many, many more years of vigor and happiness, family and friends to celebrate. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe. You give us life and sustain us and bring us to another happy occasion. Amen. Happy birthday. Mazel tov. Ellen and Martin. Ellen and Martin, are you with them? There they are, celebrating an anniversary this week. Celebrating anniversary number 53. That's pretty good. Not too shabby. We're really happy that you're here. Thank you for celebrating this day with us, with this part of your family. Again, not the anniversary plan that you would have imagined, but we're really happy that you're here as we give our thanks to God for all of our blessings. We also add our thanks for the love that you share, for the very special close relationship that we see in you, and for the shining example that you offer to all of us, to your family, and to your community. The love that you bring, the love that you show, and that you have given for these 53 years is a thing of beauty. It's a source of great joy and pride, and you give all who encounter you a shining model for us to emulate and something for all of us to hope for and strive toward in our own love and our own relationships. And we give our thanks to God for this milestone and offer our prayers for many, many more. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, for giving us life and sustaining us and bringing us to this very, very happy anniversary. Mazel tov. I told you you'd feel better. Just a few quick announcements from our community before we share a little bit of learning together. I hope that all of you will stay together with us at the end of our service so that we can say Kiddush and Motzi together as one whole community. This week our challah and wine for Kiddush and Motzi were provided by the Brooks and Carson families in honor of their daughters' simchas. Thank you all, and mazel tov. If you had a chance to pick up your Shabbat handout on the way in, there is new information in there this week as we've done our best to respond to the goings-on in our community and the very deep need as we recover from the storm. There's more information on all of this in your Shabbat handout and online, updated as best that we can, as quickly as we possibly can manage. First, just a huge, enthusiastic, warm, overwhelming thank you to all of the volunteers and community members and helpers who have contributed to this week's partnership with the Green Family Camp and Lee Evelyn Rubenstein JCC, which enabled us to host a day camp on about 36 hours notice to host somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 children whose families were affected by the hurricane. To see this camp in action this week has been a marvel. It's been an extraordinary thing to see this community come together. It's been a wondrous example of what teamwork can be and what community can look like as we've made a place for these kids to play and sing and do arts and crafts and have a great time while their families picked up the pieces. We're so grateful to all of those who made this happen, whose time and hours and dollars and love made this possible. And I just want to also mention specifically Louis Dobin, the director of the Green Family Camp, whose hard work and whose staff helped the camp come together. Louis, thank you. Our congregation is ready, and we are able to respond to many of those impacted by the hurricane. There are lots of ways that you can contribute to help bring to the clergy's attention those who are in need of pastoral and financial support. Please take advantage of the resources in this Shabbat handout. We encourage you to please pay attention to your emails, to the Emanu website, to the Temple's voicemail and Facebook pages. There are events and happenings and information updated as quickly as possible in all of those places as we try to be as flexible and agile and responsive as we possibly can to work together as one community to contribute to the recovery efforts of this terrible hurricane and its aftermath. So thank you for those of you who have already helped. Thank you in advance to those of you who will help. Thank you for the time and the love that will go into helping our community slowly and committedly restore ourselves. About 2,700 years ago, in the northern part of what's today the modern state of Israel, life was very difficult for the Jewish community. Relations were strained at best and hostile at worst with the neighboring Assyrians. It was difficult and dangerous to make it through even the most mundane of days. Military raids terrorized the local populations. Burdensome taxes threatened the community's livelihood, and religious violence often made it impossible for faithful Jews to travel safely to the shrine where they would make their burnt offerings, sheep and goats and bulls on the altar. The people were terrified and they despaired about how they could preserve their obligations to God and uphold the spiritual requirements of the sacrifices under those circumstances. And so from that place and time emerged a man named Hosea, one of the earliest prophets of Israelite history. And Hosea offered to the people an assurance that must have seemed less than comforting and might have come across even as ridiculous and insensitive. Hosea said to the people, "Don't worry about the sacrifices. Don't endanger yourself with the belief that your love for God can only be demonstrated at the altar. Instead," he said, "take up your words and offer instead the bulls of your lips." In other words, he said, leave the livestock at home. Show the world what your faith looks like through words. God will be content with the words from your heart just as much as with the cattle from your herd. As it turned out, Hosea's prophecy planted a seed that would become history's greatest transformation of Jewish life, the idea that prayer can substitute for animal offerings. Because of this change in the way we understood our relationship with God, we became free to turn into a nation of words and a people of the book. And over the centuries that follows, we Jews got really good with our words. Over the years, Jewish words have unspooled in extravagant coils of prayer and law, literature and poetry and journalism and medicine and the sciences. Hosea's urging that we offer the bulls of our lips was what liberated us to build a Jewish spirituality of words, to replace a spirituality of sacrifice and become the people we are today. But then, when the rain falls, and it doesn't stop, when the wind picks up and never slackens, when a hurricane makes landfall and it leaves our homes and our families shattered, then all of a sudden a spirituality of words feels shockingly empty. This week, words feel impotent and strange. Even the most familiar ones that come most carefully and comfortably to the lips every other week. How are you? What's new? Where do you live? Now these words ring with a newly dissonant tone. And this week, after everything that's happened and all that we've seen, our community has come to inhabit a new spirituality of action. We who are accustomed best to praying with words have shown up to pray with our actions. We who are the helpers and we who needed help. We've come to know what a spirituality of doing looks like. We've learned that it's good to say, is there anything I can do? It's better to say, I'm bringing my truck and I'll be at your place at 10. It's good to say, let me know if you need anything. It's better to say, the pizza will be arriving at 6. Does anyone not like mushrooms? Again and again and again, through these most painful and disorienting and frightening days, our community has not only told each other that we're here, we've shown up. A number of people told me they'd be watching the service tonight on our video stream because they couldn't make it from their homes to temple tonight. And I understand that there are even more who are joining us from all around the country because they want to be with Houston tonight at this most important time and this most significant Shabbat. So if you are among them, if you're not here in this room and you're watching us on a screen, and if you're wondering now what religious purpose and spiritual community looks like, I'm looking at a room full of hearts and faces that can show you that most clearly. These hearts and these hearts and these faces have taken on the powerfully comforting realization that we are in this together. In this place, in this city, in our dozens of neighborhoods, and in the infinitely complex webs of connection that bind us to each other, we're in it together. And we're doing whatever we know how to do. This week, our people have drawn deeply from the internal reservoirs where their own gifts dwell the most natural, and they've given the most generous gifts of their hearts. I've heard dozens of stories this week, and I'm sure you have too. One person says, I don't know how to put in drywall, but I know how to bake cookies. So it's going to be 3 dozen oatmeal raisin. Another says, my shoulders aren't strong enough to rip up carpet, but I can do laundry. So I'll be there at 3 with a basket. There are no gifts that are like heart gifts. And in Houston this week, heart gifts are flowing most generously. We're hauling each other's furniture, and we're walking each other's dogs, and we're hugging each other when we cry, and we're just getting started. And that, I think, was what Hosea had in mind in the first place when he brought his prophecy 2,700 years ago, that none of us can be prevented from living a life of holiness because of what we do not have. It makes no difference if your offering is an animal or a word of prayer or a killer plate of enchiladas. When you give your heart's best gifts, they are unfailingly accepted, and they will be enough. This is a lesson that we'll have to remember and return to again and again as we begin this process of recovery that will almost certainly take many more dollars and many more months than any of us have imagined. Jewish tradition tells us at every opportunity that we're not alone. And this is a pronouncement about us as much as it is about our theology. No matter what we believe in or whether we believe at all, the most important thing for us to remember in our abundance and in our need, in our hours of comfort and our times of anxiety, we're not alone. That's what we've learned this week, as the city has given gifts of our hearts and gifts of our checkbooks, gifts from our kitchens and our tool sheds. We are not alone. And when we wake up tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, and the next, when we wake up and we show up for each other, we'll remember this truth, that we are not alone. remember what this feels like, to be warmed and comforted by each other, to know that we are in this together, and know that we want to help and be helped by the people in this room and the people in our neighborhoods as we make our way on this Shabbat and through many, many to come. We are not alone, and we will be together. Shabbat Shalom. On page 282, at the bottom of the page, would you please rise? Aleinu l'shabeach, page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Page 289. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. At this time, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones and those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, the hearts of our congregation go out in sadness and sympathy to the families of those laid to rest in recent days. Tonight we remember Anita Lewis, Friedel Lack Eichhorn, Edith Parkins, Hal Zimmerman, Ann Blumenfeld, and Myron Greenfield. To their names we add these, the names of those whose yahrzeits fall this week. We remember Bunny Barr, Josephine Bender, Irvin Birnbaum, Rose Siegel-Bumar, Henry F. Bergauer, Coleman David Kaplowitz, Miriam K. Spear, Lou R. Coben, Arnold Cohen, Jacob Cohen, Daryl Cook, Janet Dochin, Walter Dorr, Lee Dukoff, Lillian Engel, Blanche Epstein, Eleanor Fenberg, Naomi Ginsburg-Friedman, Elihu Friedman, William H. Gerson, Joe B. Gerson, Amada Hayden Gleisner, Andrew Lewis Goldberg, Eva Green, Harry Green, Irving Greenberg, Morris Grevsky, Henry Grover, Benjamin Jaffe, Zev Jankovic, Robert Joachim, Sylvia Kasner, Jerry L. Castleman, Jack Katz, Ed Katz, Anita Katz, Burton Curtin, Sherman Cusin, Dave Lack, Mark Lee, Sarah Yetta Levitt, Morris Levy, Selma Light, Blanche Lipsky, Faye Lipton, Chester Marcus, Rachel B. Margolis, Adi Marks, Sadie Marks, Sylvia Matzner, Asia Mazik, Jack Merland, Ted Pasternak, Ethel Pessin, Max Price, Samuel Rabin, Mildred Littman-Rashofsky, Morris Rauch, William Rychek, Ida Richmond, Joe Rabinowitz, Charles Rogers, Adele Rosenbush, Leah Rosenfeld, Louis Rosenthal, Gertrude Schenker, Annie M. Sheps, Leopold Schwartz, Leon B. Schwartzberg, Israel Siegel, Mark Silverman, Louis L. Sline, Ann P. Slobin, Sadie Smith, Elaine Benderoff-Spector, Eva Spiro, Seymour Sussman, Melvin H. Tappick, Viola Tauber, Juanita G. Torres, and Edward Warner. We remember as well all of those who lost their lives in the tragic events of this week's storm as we rise together for the recitation of Kaddish on page 294. Page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei b'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach ve'elam u'lamei al-mayah, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei t'kudsha v'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. To which we say, Amen.
Amen. Amen. Oh, say shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, O God and God of all who came before us, let us find comfort on this Shabbat. May the days ahead be days of relief and restoration. May they be days of comfort and kindness and calm as we make our way forward as one community day by day together to brightness and goodness and peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
invited our B'nai Mitzvah back to the Bima to help lead us in Kiddush and Motzi, and we invite Levi up and cousins of our B'nai Mitzvah to help lead us in this blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'rata banu, b'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava u'ratzo, Hilanu, Zikaron le'maaseh Barish, ki hu yom tefillah le'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu b'charta, ve'otanu kidashta, b'kol amim, Shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'ratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Okay, you guys ready?
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Have I heard this one?
Mazel tov.